Hey guys, so Jen Graves here. I'm doing another manga talk video for y'all. This time, I want to focus a little less on me, like my last one, and this one's gonna be a little bit for y'all and new people that are trying to get into manga, and it's just on basically like how to get into it. Um, I mean, I feel like with this, we're gonna have to go into story time so I can tell you about how I got into it, and maybe a couple stories about how I know other people got into it. But anyway, so I actually got into manga when I was 14, and I had friends in, gosh, sixth grade that read different books. They read Fushigi, they read Inuyasha, they read Get Backers, Ragnarok, um, some of the other ones that are around that stuff. But that's actually, those were people that I hung out with in school, and I enjoyed reading part of it. It was just something good and different and everything, like reading an American comic, but different. And I really liked to read newspaper comics when I was younger. Now that's kind of died off. But, um, that's how I kind of started. I would read some of theirs, and then I ended up going to the store and buying mine, off of my little allowance that I got. But as far as picking out a series that you like, um, I would probably have to tell you, and I've probably mentioned it in a couple of different videos, but I have a video for it if you want to find it. It's my sandwich method video or sandwich technique. Um, it's how I have it set up right now. It's based off of how to read manga, but without getting burnt out so far or so fast. But me and another YouTuber talked about how you could use it for buying manga too. And so some of it is, um, as a new manga person, you don't want to just jump into it. Um, Getting started kind of takes a little bit of planning. Sad to say. Um, I mean, you can just jump into it, but it's harder for you to do that without doing a little research. That's one thing that I have to do a lot is research to figure out how many volumes are in a particular series, if the series has ended, if it hasn't. But after you learn little bits of information like that and approximately how much it's going to cost you in learning what your budget is basically, then you can kind of just jump headlong into it. Um, for me, I mean, as y'all see now, I probably have two or three manga haul videos that come in. Usually a small one and a medium one and a semi big one, depending on if I order new manga or not. A new series I haven't gotten into, and however long into it is. So my recommendation for most of y'all is just go to the store and look if there's a series that you like or anything that might interest you in the cover. Um, Anything like that, even if it is a long series. If you enjoy it, you're going to catch up to it unless it's right at the tail end. Because I believe that a lot of people, like with Fairy Tale, if you would have gotten into it before it ended at volume 63, 63 or 73, one of those two. I can't remember right now because I have that or When Bleach Ends floating around in my head. They both ended at um, one of those numbers that ends in a 3, so I just can't remember right now if it was 63 or 73 for which one, or both of them, or anything like that. But you know, if it's a series that you like, you'd probably read it. You'd probably get at least the first 5 volumes, something like that, and then you would try and start collecting the rest of them. If it was completed and you know that you got some time, then you don't have to really worry about it too much. You know, but enjoying a series is something that you would do to really get into it. A lot of times when I order manga, I go off of the description, I go off of the art that's on the cover, you know, and that's not really a lot to go off of. So I kind of have to say one of those parents things like, um, do what I say, not what I do. You know, unless, like I said, you have a budget that can kind of support that, or whatnot. I think I spend probably a little over $100 twice a month on manga. Unless I somehow didn't go see a movie, or didn't get something for a friend or anything like that. I do that a lot. Um, but, you know, just a good thing is if you've let the series kind of start a little bit, or even right before its release in America, for anybody that's outside, you kind of have to wait for the pulse from Japan to come out to hit your country or nation or anything, and for it to be printed and then to send it out to you. Um, but I mean, usually we have a translation online before time. I would probably say for most people, go online and read you a couple chapters before, and see if you really want to get into the series. My brother has a rule when he watches TV shows. He says, I'll always watch the first 3 episodes, and if it doesn't hook me by that time, I'm done. And so I kind of would say that with some people as far as reading manga. If you've read the first couple chapters, or even the first couple volumes, and you're not really into the series, then I wouldn't move forward with it. If it's one that's just like borderline for you good enough, I found out that most of the time those ones will actually be better later on at some point, because you've kind of grown with the series. Um, yeah, you've kind of grown with the series. You kind of know about the characters and whatnot. And I kind of see, I guess, manga as like extended family members, I would say. Some of them I'm kind of like, oh yeah, it's that weird cousin that I really don't want to talk to, but we're still family, so I'm gonna, you know, manga wise, then I'm gonna go ahead and finish it. Um, or, oh yeah, this was a great one, you know, I really hold it dear to me, different stuff like that. So some of them like that, you can kind of get around and enjoy them better on or off, different stuff like that. One of my other character flaws is the reason why I pre-order a lot of my manga and everything is, I don't enjoy getting into a series when it's in the thick of it with everybody else. Same thing with TV shows. If anybody's seen Game of Thrones, I didn't get into Game of Thrones for the first 3 years because I didn't want to go with that flow. But then, you know, it started dying off, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to watch this, you know, unless I'm already into it. I know there's music and some manga and stuff that I've started reading or anything like that, and it was good, and then somebody else um, started it, and then it just kind of, there was a storm or a wave that everybody else started reading it. So um, usually that's kind of how I am. with a lot of my stuff if I haven't already pre-ordered it, and before people talk about it, then I tend not to steer towards it until I kind of have one of those moments where I'm kind of like, oh yeah, well, I've read reviews on this and everything, and it just seems like a really good series. I think I'll get into it. So, but back to some of the other stuff. Yeah, I mean, go to the store and try. You know, um, I would say also this kind of where we got to divert a little bit from the original thing that I said. Is I would say at least go pick one series out that you wouldn't expect that you might like, and just pick it up and start reading that one. Sometimes with like uh, comedy ones, that's kind of the lowest one on my list for reading. Some shojo ones I used to be kind of I won't read those. Um, but I mean, some shojo ones and some of the other ones have really gotten to the point where they're ones that I enjoyed more than some of the regular stuff that I enjoyed. Um, and that's just something that I would have never gone into if I hadn't tried it out. So, um, which, if anybody has thought about it yet, we actually diverted from the sandwich technique quite a lot. But anyway, so back to that. The sandwich technique, I kind of made it as an idea for how to continue reading manga without getting tired about it. But like I said before, I talked about it with another YouTube friend, and we um, kind of worked with a little bit to buy manga. And they were a person that was kind of new getting into it. I think they only had 200 and something in their series. And they're like, I've never thought about this before. Thanks. I'm going to start buying my manga like this and everything. But you want different parts of it, and the reason why it's a sandwich is because of the different things. I couldn't say texture because you're not actually eating thing, but just the formulaic parts of it. With like the bread, and if I remember right, I usually have something in front of me with it. If I remember it right. I believe there's 5, but as I go through it, I'll probably remember everything. But with bread, you want a series that's going to be your support. In a sandwich, whenever you're having that, bread is always the thing that you put everything between. So, bread is always basically your foundation, your support that lets everything else kind of ride on it. And people like their sandwiches different. Some people don't like it with bread. So this is just, kind of formulaic theory on it. But you want one that you can kind of rely on in this part. You want it that you can be able to go in and read it. I would probably say a longer running series would be one that would be good for the bread portion. One that you can really enjoy and that you can rely on it. For me, I would probably have to say right now that I have one that takes kind of multiple spots in this, but for me, I would say it's one that I can rely on a lot. So I would say it's probably my bread portion as usual. It's probably like One Piece. It's something that I've read it so long that I can go back and I get it new every time, but I can always go back and enjoy it if I want to go back and like review an older book in the series or anything. I can always go back and enjoy it. So, the next one what I would say is the meat. I mean, you can have a sandwich without some other stuff and then just have meat on it. The meat is something that you, at least if you're not vegetarian or anything, um, So you kind of got to think about it outside the book or outside the box. The meat is something that you enjoy a lot. You sink your teeth into it, and that's why I said One Piece could kind of fit in this too. But for me, really, the meat portion, I would probably have to say, is probably some of my smaller series that are still coming out, like Battlefield Blockade. Um, just some of my other ones that I have that I get that y'all have seen me pull out of the stuff ones that are good. World Trigger, some of those. Then we have the cheese. Cheese is more so like um, it's also one that you can enjoy. It's one that is smaller, so um, you're not just spending a lot of time on it. The cheese isn't one that's actually supposed to be there forever for you. It's supposed to be one that kind of helps push you along, I guess, and one that's kind of in there that you can read and enjoy um, in between when those ones are coming out. The cheese for me would probably be um, probably one of the new series that I'm reading. Right now, I'm reading Drifters. Probably um, To Your Eternity, some stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure because a bunch of these can kind of be interchangeable. Cheese is really supposed to be one that's not that long, so if it's a series that ends short, then I could totally classify it as cheese. But I mean, it could fit into a different category depending on how you feel about it, basically. Um, then we kind of have the veggies. You want something fresh. That is ordering you a new series that's coming out. Something like that. For me, it would be almost all of my new monster uh, dungeon crawler manga that I have, like the first two volumes for it. It's just really fresh. I enjoy it. Something that is new that I can get into. A lot of times for me, my fresh ones are probably um, my new shojo ones that I get because it's ones that I don't exactly um, I wouldn't exactly just pick out of the blue without um, you know kind of looking at it first, I guess. And sometimes I'll just randomly pick one and say, hey, I'm gonna buy this one this time. um, Ones that would fit into that category for me right now, I would probably say is like the I can't think about it right now. Um, it's one of my new ones. Maybe like World's End Harem. That's like a super new one for me. I haven't even read it yet, but I'm about to start it after I finish reading my Overlord, my next Overlord volume that I got from one of my other um, manga hauls. And then the last one of the whole thing is the sauce. Let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. Bread, meat, cheese, veggies, sauce. Yep. So there's 5 of them. Um, sauce. Sauce is something that you always look forward to. It's an explosion. It's for all intents and purposes, it's where the flavor comes from. The ones that you really, 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 really enjoy. For me, that's almost every dungeon crawler one, or most like Monster Girl ones, some other stuff like that. Ones that I really enjoy and I've always waited on. Again, One Piece would probably fit into that because I've always enjoyed trying to read One Piece and everything. But that's the one that you always wait for. It's where the flavor for your sandwich comes in, your explosion. Um, and some of these If you want to think about it that way, you could branch out. Some of these you could consider like making multiple part sandwiches. Um, you know, you may say that you want three different kinds of bread. You know, you want a triple decker or multiple kinds of meat or whatever. So you can always have multiple series that you consider something with this technique. I usually just use the base sandwich thing, like if I was going to make a Dagwood sandwich or anything like that, and just put everything into one category. But I mean, you could break it out individually. Um, but I mean, really, that's all there is to it. As far as collecting manga, you know, just make sure you don't bust the bank for it. I have done that before, where I've spent way too much, and it was like, okay, for the next 2 weeks, all I'm having is ramen, you know. Um, which, you know, my argument for that is I like to feed the brain, usually more than I feed the tummy, but you know, food's good too. So, um, but yeah, I mean, you know, just any way that you can kind of look at it to help you out, and not make it go crazy. Because there's, even though as many as I have, you know, I believe I'm at 36, 3,705, somewhere around that. Maybe a little more because there I might have a box in the mail or something. I don't know yet. Um, but you know, ones that you enjoy, just try not to go like too crazy about it. You know, and a lot of the outside research on a series and everything is going to do that. Like I said, I pre-order a lot of mine, and so sometimes there is a little more that I have to shell out for a series because for some reason in May, or June, you know, a lot of manga distributors all go, "Oh yeah, this is the day when a bunch of manga is coming out. There's going to be 30 plus." You know, so it just kind of depends. You want to budget it out, do research on it, make sure, with pre-orders and stuff that you always know what's going to be coming out, all that other stuff. But anyway, this is going to be a long video. I already know. I told myself that I'd never say that about one of my videos, but because some of my friends do say that. But anyway, I hope this one can kind of be enlightening to y'all, about reading and if y'all will like it and whatnot. Um, you know, if you have any other questions, you want any other opinions that I have or anything else on these manga talk videos, just message me below, let me know, and I can answer other questions for you or anything, and we can kind of get into it more. I know I gave y'all a little bit of my history of how I started getting into manga, but you know, there's more to that. So um, I probably won't do another video unless requested for that. It'll probably just randomly come out at some point. But anyway, that's it for this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. You know, as I said, questions, anything else, post below, so we can get some of that out of the way if y'all want to know it. And again, I'm Jen Graves, and I will see y'all on my next video. All right, bye.